Malini?
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hi Krishna, good morning. Today we are going to continue to read from the second canto and chapter 10. The second canto is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, and of course we understand why, because we are seeing the manifestation of all the cosmos of this universe. And chapter 10 is entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, and we are on text 35. Nayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jaya mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Hare Krishna. So we can, so again, it's 2, 10, 35. We can do one word at a time. Amuni. Hare Krishna. Someone from the Mara family or Kim would like to repeat? Amuni.
Amuni.
Bhagavat.
Bhagavat.
Upe.
Upe.
Maya.
Vaya.
Te.
Te.
I.
I.
Anuvarnite.
Anuvaite.
Ube.
Upe.
Api.
Api.
Na.
Na.
Grinanti.
Vinamti.
Maya.
Vaya.
Triste.
Triste.
Vipachita.
Pachita.
Amuni Bhagavat Rupe.
I can't repeat it. I don't have the book.
Oh. Anyone online has the book or the verse online? Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Mayate Yanuvarnite Mayate Yanuvarnite Ube api na grinanti Ube api na grinanti Maya shriste vipaschitaha Maya shriste vipachitaha Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Mayate Yanuvarnite Mayate Yanuvarnite Ube apina grinanti Ube apina grinanti Maya shriste vipaschita Maya shriste vipaschitaha Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Mayate Yanuvarnite Mayate Yanuvarnite Ube apina grinanti Ube apina grinanti Maya shriste vipaschitaha Maya shriste vipaschitaha. Anybody would like to chant online? Okay. Harmony. Someone like to repeat? Harmony. All
I'll
these. Okay. All these.
all this.
Bhagavat.
Bhagavat.
Unto the personality, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Upe.
Upe.
In the forms.
In the forms.
Maya.
Maya.
By me.
By me.
Te.
Te.
Unto you.
Unto you.
E.
E.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Anuvarnite.
Anuvanite.
Described respectively.
Describe respectively.
Ube.
Upe.
Both.
Boast.
Api.
Api.
Also.
Also.
Na.
I couldn't hear that word.
Na.
Na.
Never.
Never.
Grinanti.
Grinamti.
Accepts.
Accept.
Maya.
Maya.
External.
External.
Sheste.
Sheste.
Being so manifested.
Being so manifested.
Vipa.
Vipa.
The learned one who knows.
The learned one who knows.
Translation. Neither of the above forms of the Lord, as just described unto you from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who knows him well. Purport. The impersonalist thinks of the absolute personality of Godhead in two different ways, as above mentioned. On the one hand, they worship the Lord in a Vishvarupa, or all-pervading universal form, and on the other, they think of the Lord's unmanifested and undescribable subtle form. The theories of pantheism and monism are respectively applicable to those two conceptions of the Supreme as gross and subtle, but both of them are rejected by the learned pure devotees of the Lord because they are aware of the factual position. This is very clearly mentioned in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which record Arjuna's experience of the Vishvarupa of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Adrista puvam rishitos midrisva Bayena cha pravyatitam manomi tad eva me darshaya deva rupam prashida devesha jaganivasha. Bhagavad Gita 11:45. Arjuna, as a pure devotee of the Lord, never previously saw the contemplated universal form of the Lord, Vishvarupa. But when he did see it, his curiosity was satisfied. But he was not happy to see such a form of the Lord because of his attachment as a pure devotee. He was afraid to see the gigantic form of the Lord. He therefore prayed to the Lord to assume his four-handed Narayan or Krishna form, which alone could please Arjuna. Undoubtedly, the Lord has the supreme potency to exhibit himself in multifarious forms, but the pure devotees of the Lord are interested in his forms as eternally exhibited in the abode of the Lord, known as the Tripad Vibhuti or Kingdom of God. The Lord in the Tripad Vibhuti abode exhibit himself in two forms, either with 4 hands and with 2 hands. The Vishvarupa exhibited in the material manifestation as unlimited hands and unlimited dimension, with everything unlimited. The pure devotees of the Lord worshipping in his Vaikuntha form as Narayan or Krishna. Sometimes the same Vaikuntha forms of the Lord are in the material world also by his grace as Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, Sri Narasimhadev, etc. And thus the pure devotees also worship them. Usually the features shown in the material world have no existence in the Vaikuntha planets. And thus they are not accepted by the pure devotees. What the pure devotees worship from the very beginning are eternal forms of the Lord existing in the Vaikuntha planets. The non-devotee and personalists imagine the material forms of the Lord, and ultimately they merge in the impersonal Brahmanity of the Lord, whereas the pure devotee of the Lord are worshippers of the Lord, both in the beginning and also in the perfect stage of salvation, eternally. The worship of the pure devotee never stops, whereas the worship of the impersonalist stops after his attainment of salvation, when he merges in the impersonal form of the Lord known as the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord are described here as Vipaschita, or the learned who are in the knowledge of the Lord perfectly. Hare Krishna. So I just grab the Bhagavad Gita. Om Agyanati Merandasya Gyana Jala Shalakaya Shakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Goave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Tatati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Rupam Vaishnavaham Cha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Agunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Hada Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Hade Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sutedevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvisesha Shunyavadi, Paskachya Dejatarine. Jaya Krishna. So the text to read. Neither of the above forms of the Lord, as just described unto you from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who knows him well. Hare Krishna, everyone. So the pure devotees, they know the Lord well, and in fact, they know him perfectly. So they really understand everything in the proper perspective. And it's just a question of perspective, like I said, from the angle of vision, from the material angle of vision. So Sukadev Goswami, he spent a lot of time in this chapter, in the part of this part of the Bhagavatam, which we come to the end of the second canto. So there is 12 canto, 7 days. So it comes to maybe it's in the middle of the night of the first day of March Parikshit receiving knowledge from Sukadev Goswami. And Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, they find a lot of pleasure hearing about the creation, hearing about how the Lord manifests the cosmic manifestation. So it's like, why is it that they spend time speaking about that? And at the same time, on the other hand, he said that pure devotee, is not interested in that. So why is that? It looks like a contradiction in some ways. And so Srila Prabhupada explained that, yeah, like there is a difference of approach. It's a difference of approach, like for Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, for the monism and the impersonalist. They kind of look at the universal form of the Lord, including all the demigods that we have seen are really involved in that universal form. They are involved, they are in charge of every details of the life. So pantheism and impersonalism, Srila Prabhupada said, it's not very different. And what's happened is that the impersonalists, they worship the universal form, and they do worship all demigods and on an equal level with Krishna, like Vishnu is the same as Lakshmi, and is the same as Ganesh, and the same as Shiva. And they have their approach is coming to a place of non-differentiation. And they say at the beginning it's helpful to have those deities, because those deities help you to fix your mind. But then after, when your mind is fixed on the universal form and on the oneness and ready for liberation, then you throw the deity away. And I include Krishna. Sometimes I personally, even Sahajas, they worship Radha and Krishna. And then when they finally got to liberation, then they throw away the deities, they throw away Radha and Krishna. They don't care. They don't care at all for the personal aspect of Krishna. Because in the fourth chapter, 10 verse of the Bhagavad Gita, it's explained the psychology of that. The psychology behind impersonalism is fear of relationship, fear of intimacy, fear of existing, fear of having an identity. And that fear leads us towards impersonalism, isn't it? Like Prabhupada spent a lot of time speaking about impersonalist, and my sense is that he's doing that because he knows our tendencies. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paskachatizatarine, that he came to us to help us uproot that weed of impersonalism, born of fear, because that fear is so engrounded in us, because we have spent Nitya Bada. It's a Nitya Bada, we are eternally conditioned. So we cannot retrace. Prabhupada often say, we cannot retrace the time when we, started to be in a material world, because it's time immemorial. We take birth and die in 8,400,000 species of life. We have been grass, we have been grasshopper, we have been fishes, we have been cows, we have been so many form of life that we have cycled again and again to that. And through that also, our consciousness is is contaminated by the material existence, which is very based on fear. And so when we come to spiritual life, often we come to spiritual life to avoid material suffering, I want liberation from all that pain. I want liberation from the pain of relationship. I want liberation from the pain of existing and being an individual, taking care of myself because I am an individual. I want relief from that. So that desire is still there, even when we approach Krishna. Srila Prabhupada spent a lot of time to make distinction for us, for us to find those weeds and pull them out. And the pure devotee is eager to hear, like Maharaj Parikshit is so eager to hear about the creation. And in this chapter, it's been so beautiful to see the unfolding, to witness that unfolding of a different part, like it's a beginning of the day of Brahma. And so the beginning of the day of Brahma, like when Brahma wakes up, and then the Purusha wakes up, and then little by little, all those elements manifest. And when the Purusha want to ears, then the ears manifest, and then the sound manifest. When the Purusha want to see, then the eyes manifest, and the sun manifest, and the object of vision and form manifest. So like that is that we are witnessing that unfolding of the cosmic manifestation. And the pure devotee is not enamored with the cosmic manifestation. It doesn't really feel love or intimacy, because there is no intimacy to have. At the same time, the devotee, because he feels love and intimacy with Krishna, he appreciates how omnipotent the Lord is, and how capable the Lord is, and how intelligent he is, and how creative he is, and how much poetry and all that, while witnessing the manifestation. So it's not like the devotees neglect the impersonal aspect of Krishna, or neglect to look at all his energy. However, the devotee looks at those energy, look at the creation, look at the manifestation as it pertains to Krishna as a person, and how amazing he is. So Srila Prabhupada quote a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. I was thinking we can just read that verse and the purport too, because the purport is quite amazing. So the verse, I'm not going to read the Sanskrit again because I already did. So translation. So after seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, Arjuna said, I am gladdened, but at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as a personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. So Arjuna he has seen for the first time the universal form with all, like is described in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. If you want like to make a parallel between this chapter and the 11th chapter, it's fascinating. So it describes that form of the Lord with millions of ears and millions of eyes, and the vein are the rivers, and the two eyes with the moon and the sun, and the teeth of the Lord that are crushing every moment, which are representative of time, crushing everyone, all the living entity within his mouth, all that, and to make the parallel with what we have seen. And so Arjuna is there, and he just saw that. He just beheld that form, humongous form of the Lord, and within that form he saw himself. Within that form he saw the result of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He could see everything, like Mother Yashoda when she looked in Krishna's mouth. She had her little son, and she asked, "Did you eat dirt, Krishna?" "No, I didn't eat dirt." And so she opened the mouth of Krishna, and what she sees, the universal form. She even sees herself looking in Krishna's mouth in that universal form, because that universal form contains everything. everything in the universe. And then she fainted, like, how can she behold that? And then Krishna makes sure that he didn't want his mom to treat him like, I'm the supreme personality of Godhead. He didn't want that, because there is nothing relishable about that. Like, not even one drop of enjoyment for Krishna, for his pure devotee to see him in that form as a universal form, because that form is its external form. It's impersonal. There is no intimacy there. And what Krishna enjoys is intimacy. And the devotees is in contact with the Lord. Recently, I was reading a purport from Srila Prabhupada, and he said two things, that the devotees contact with the Lord with intimacy and respect. Intimacy with respect. Because if there is no respect, familiarity breeds contempt, and then we become sahaja. We become like familiar with the Lord. So intimacy, to really develop that sense of intimacy, and we can practice that now. Practice to be, of course, respectful, and at the same time intimate with the pure devotees, Srila Prabhupada, with the deities of the Lord, Gaunitai, Hare Krishna, with the devotees of the Lord that we may encounter in our life, to develop that sense of intimacy, and to Trinadapi Sunichina Tarorapi Saisnuna Madina Manadina Kirtania Sadahari. You know, like one should chant the holy name of the Lord in an humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than the tree, and devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. So if we understand that everything is Krishna, and we are never separated from Krishna, Krishna is all around us, then we also get that we can respect everything and everyone. And from that platform of respecting everything and everyone, then we get to naturally be humble and tolerant and devoid of all sense of false prestige. And from that platform, we can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Kirtanya Sadahari, constantly chanting the name of the Lord. So Arjuna, he was greatly fortunate to see with his own eyes. And, in a sense, we have seen with our own eyes by witnessing this description of Sukadeva Goswami of the universal form. And he said, okay, it was wonderful. He doesn't say, oh, I don't want that form, it's a bad form. He said, it was wonderful. It's so amazing. That form is so amazing. And that form, at the same time, that's not the form I want to be in a relationship with you. I appreciate that form. It's like, let's say that we are in a relationship with a very famous man. And that famous man, he has factories and he builds cars. He has a big factory and he's very wealthy. And he shows us the factory, he shows us all his workers, he shows us everything he owns, he shows us his land, he shows us his helicopter, he shows us everything, all his opulence. Well, we just, oh, wow, that's wonderful, you have all that. But what's important for me is you, me, the immediacy of our relationship. It's not for me to just like try to enjoy intimacy with the factory or the helicopter or anything that person owns. So similarly with Krishna, we are like, yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate, wow, you build up an empire for yourself. You're so intelligent. You're so capable. And that will enhance my relationship of intimacy. It will enhance my personal encounter with that person. However, it's not going to be the part of the relationship that I enjoy. What I enjoy is you and I. And I know everything you have. So similarly, the devotee has that relationship and he is appreciating all that opulence. And that opulence is not where he put his energy, like Satyavata Muni. He said, I don't even want to live eternally in Vaikuntha. Like he doesn't even want that. He only wants to remember Lord Damodar. He only wants to remember Krishna. being bound by Mother Yashoda. He doesn't want to live eternally in Vaikuntha. You know, we understand, okay, well, I don't want liberation. Okay, we get that. I don't even want to know your feature of Paramatma. Well, that's more difficult. Like, yeah, I do want to hear the Lord as Paramatma and develop that relationship. And it goes even further. I don't even want eternal life in Vaikuntha. I only want that those childhood pastimes of yours may ever be enacted in my heart. So the devotee, that's all he wants. He wants to remember Krishna, to chant the glories of the Lord, and to remember Krishna, Krishna's beauty, Krishna's curly hair, Krishna's nose, pointy nose, Krishna's exchange with his devotees, Krishna's crying when you run away from Mother Yashoda. That's what the devotee wants and nothing else, nothing else. So Arjuna, he was like saying that, and I want to read the purport because I found the purport very interesting. Arjuna is always in confidence with Krishna because he's very dear, because a very dear friend. And as a dear friend, he's gladdened by his friend's opulence. So he's gladdened by his friend's opulence, like we are gladdened if someone is opulent. Arjuna is very joyful to see that his friend Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can show such a wonderful universal form. So the devotee, he sees a universal form as wonderful, but is not so much interested in it. But at the same time, after seeing that universal form, he's afraid that he has committed so many offenses to Krishna out of his unalloyed friendship. So what is he afraid of? Because we can think like, I will be afraid of seeing wars, seeing fires, blazing fire, the devouring mouth of death and time. That will scare me so much because it's scary. Every day we are scared. We're scared of the coronavirus. We are scared of, conspiracy theories. We are scared of the government. We are scared of hurricanes. We are scared of anything inside that cosmic manifestation. We are scared. But that's not what the devotee is about. He's not scared. Arjuna is scared for what? He's scared that because now we see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's scared that when they were without that awe and reverence, that as a friend, he committed some offense. That, well, we slept together, we ate together, we did all those things together. I had no idea who you were. Yeah, we can be like that. Maybe we meet someone and we don't know who they are, and we tap them on the back. We do joke about them. Maybe we could do joke about things that they are controlling. We don't know. And later on, we find like they are a very big political figure. Oh my God, I didn't know. Oh, I must have said something that offended that person. So that's how Arjuna feels. So it's important to make that distinction because sometimes people feel like Arjuna was feeling the universal form the way we feel it. But the pure devotee doesn't feel the universal form because the pure devotee understands this is Krishna. This is Krishna. Nothing is separated from Krishna. This is Krishna's, through his agency of Maya, creating this place for my well-being. That everything in this place is perfectly orchestrated by the Lord. No mistake in this universe. That everything is absolutely perfect for every single soul inhabiting that prison to be reformed. Of course, there comes a time where there is no hope anymore for reformation, and that's where the universe kind of becomes useless and is annihilated by, to the agency of Lord Shiva and Anta and like that. And at the same time, we understand this is a safe place. The devotees doesn't fear the universal form of the Lord. The devotee is confident that this is the opulence of Krishna, and I'm living in that opulence of Krishna, and there is nothing to fear because he's cradling me in that. He's cradling me like that. Like yesterday in our Krishna book reading, we were reading about Govardhan Puja because it was Govardhan Puja and Indra. It's so nice. That pastime is so amazing. Indra, because he had responsibility, like sometimes I have some responsibility and I feel so like I'm very important. I'm very important. I have responsibility, and that makes me sense like I'm important. They're my responsibility, my achievement, my accomplishment, my, I am I, and unlimitedly I and mine. So imagine Lord Indra is in charge, is like, is the treasurer of the demigods, and is in charge of is in charge of the weather. He's so powerful. Lord Indra is so powerful. And that comes to his head so much that he thinks that he's ultimate, like the ultimate power, that he has ultimate power because he doesn't know the end of his power. In comparison to all the other living entities, he has so much he can control. So that got into his head, like so many times it can get into our heads that we are the doer, when in fact we are not the doer of our activities. So it came to his head, and then he was really feeling puffed up, like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. And then how dare those human beings in Vrindavan didn't do worship of me? How dare they do that? And he got so angry. And all that the whole pastime of Govardhan Puja, of course, there's so many, when Krishna does something, he does it for so many purposes, not only one purpose. But one of the main purpose he had was he wanted Indra to be angry. And he wanted to do that to crush his false ego, to crush his false pride. How wonderful is Krishna? How wonderful is Krishna that, like, even manipulated his father and all the coward boys to give up the worship of Krishna, and he did that so cleverly. He used all his cleverness. Why? Because he cares about Indra. And he doesn't care about Indra's position. He doesn't care about robbing Indra's false ego. He doesn't care about Indra's opulence or prestige or control. None of that. The super soul doesn't have any affection to our material conditioning. No, he has no affection for any of our conditioning, material conditioning. Lord, like Krishna did that because he could see that this tendency to want to think that is all powerful was an hindrance to Indra's spiritual life. And then Lord Krishna is so merciful that he arranged to anger Indra and then to smash Indra's pride by, showing him how much more powerful he is than Indra, until Indra really humbled himself and started to offer obeisances to the Lord and really accept that the Lord's supremacy. So that's a story we can keep with ourselves, to really see that every time we are crushed or something doesn't go the way we want it to go, or something happened in our material life, that Krishna doesn't have any affection for our material I and my, that what he really cares about is something way deeper. And in that place of what he cares about, that's way deeper. There is a potential for intimacy, for the deepest love, the deepest relationship, the deepest fulfillment in a relationship with the Lord. There's no happiness outside of our relationship with God. No happiness. It's just illusion of happiness, illusion of control, illusions of fulfillment or satisfaction. So Arjuna, again, we go back to the purport. Arjuna, he felt like, I must have done so many offenses. And Prabhupada said it's an unalloyed friendship. So his friendship wasn't contaminated by anything. It was a pure friendship. Like the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they have so much love for Krishna. In fact, after the Govardhan Puja, there is wonderful Krishna, the chapter there. And the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they are complaining that they cannot stop thinking about Krishna. They are complaining. They are saying, we don't know why, but the only thing we can think about is Krishna. And I was thinking, oh my God, I don't know why, but the only thing I cannot think about is Krishna. So unlearned friendship. Thus his mind is disturbed out of fear. Also, he has no reason to fear. Arjuna therefore is asking Krishna to show his Narayan form because he can assume any form. This universal form is material and temporary, as the material world is temporary. But in the Vaikuntha planets, he has his transcendental forms with 4 hands as Narayan. There are innumerable planets in the spiritual sky, and in each of them, Krishna is present in his plenary manifestation of different names. Thus, Arjuna desires to see one of the form manifested in the Vaikuntha planets. Of course, in each Vaikuntha planet, the form of Narayan is 4-handed, and the 4 hands hold the different symbol, the conch shell, mass, lotus, and disc. According to the different hands, these four things are held in, the Narayan are named. Of all of these forms are one and same to Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna requests to see his 4-handed forms, features. So Arjuna is beholding that form of Krishna. The universal form is a form of Krishna. However, it's the only body of Krishna that's temporary and material. That's a body, like we can see, like there is one purport, I think it's in the 3rd canto, where Srila Prabhupada said, in the same way that the body doesn't exist without the soul entering first through the agency of the sperm and, like all those secretion. Then the body forms as soon as the soul enters the secretion. So in the same way, the universal form doesn't form until the super soul enter the Mahatattva, or like the pradhan, the secretion. And then from that, then the differentiation start to happen, differentiation of the different elements, in the same way that from the secretion of the man and the woman, then as the soul enter, differentiation happen, and the body of the baby start to form with the senses, eyes, and nose, and all that, and then the finger and the legs, and like that. So similarly, that's a form of the Lord. That's the only form of the Lord that's temporary, really, and it's a body of the Lord. And Arjuna say, okay, well, seeing that he really like scare him. He said, well, you're so big, you're so gigantic, and you're the supreme being, and there is no intimacy with that relationship. And seeing that he's scared that he made offenses while being in that unallowed friendship with the Lord. And then he asked him, like, okay, now I want to see an eternal form. And Krishna has many, many eternal forms. Eko Bausham, all the form, like in a Brahma Samhita, it explained, like there is one candle, and then that candle lights so many other candles. So Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. He lives in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world. And from him, there is so many emanations of his different form in the Vaikuntha planet. And then all those forms, they are called Swamsa, Samswa. They all come from the spiritual world. There is no form of Krishna, expansion of Krishna, that are not existing in the spiritual world. Like Lom Nisringadev exists in the spiritual world. Vamanadev exists they descend from the spiritual world. And so Arjuna is asking, can I see one of your four-arm form? In the Vaikuntha planet, Lord Narayan, Vishnu really have 4 arms, and there is Padmanabha, there is Keshava, there is so many form of Krishna, and the name of those Vishnu form is determined by where the 4 arms, like what are they holding? Some have the lotus flower on the upper right arm, and some have the lotus flower on the lower right arm, like that. And that's how those forms are determined. And Srila Prabhupada, in his purport to our verse today, he speaks about that, and now the form of the Lord are there for a certain relationship. We have a certain relationship. And in the Vaikuntha planet, the relationships that the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planet have with Vishnu is in a lower part. Let's say there's a lower part of the Vaikuntha planet, if we can say that. And the inhabitants there, it's the only place just above the Viraj River where the devotee worship Narayan in Vaikuntha in awe and reverence. They are very aware that Krishna is God, that Vishnu is God, and they worship him in that way. They worship it. That's their relationship. It's called neutrality. It's a relationship of neutrality. That it is a relationship, and it's in awe and reverence. Krishna, God is here, and I'm here. And then, as you know, and then there is many planets in a Vaikuntha planet. There is a planet where people who are worshipping and have a relationship with Ramachandra goes. Lord Nishingadev there, and so many Vaikuntha planets, and then the utmost planetary system in the Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada explained is Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna has the most intimate relationship with those who are developing that intimacy. That's why we are encouraged to develop intimacy, to develop a sense of intimacy with Krishna. Somehow or other, finding a way to have that intimacy and respect with Krishna. And what else? So yes, the perfect devotee, Prabhupada said, like, he's perfect. The perfect devotee wants, from the beginning of his spiritual life, from the beginning of plugging into Bhakti Yoga, when we realize, like, yeah, I don't want material life anymore. I don't want to choose. I already had a husband. I had many millions of husbands. I had many millions of children. I had many millions of opulence. I had millions of food. I had millions of different dwelling in my life, like so many, life after life after life. I don't want that anymore. I already did it. I want something else. And I want real life. I want to be plugged into the purpose of this cosmic manifestation, to come to my real senses, to come to, we have senses, and our senses are meant to serve the Lord because we are part and parcel of the Lord. And we have a mind, and our mind is really where we can reach the spiritual world. The mind is born of the mother goodness, and that's where we can focus. So by absorbing our mind in the holy name of the Lord, by absorbing our mind in the form of the Lord, the pastime of the Lord, then we kind of skip all the material energy and external energy of the Lord to plug into the internal energy of the Lord. And when we are plugged into the internal energy of the Lord, then the external energy of the Lord doesn't touch us anymore. So we want to use our mind, like Satyavata Muni, to always think of Krishna's pastime, to always think of the beauty of Krishna, to think of the pastime of Srila Prabhupada, to attach ourselves to the pure devotee. The pure devotee is a Vivaya media because he is purely in Vaikuntha. He doesn't have any contamination from the spiritual world. And because he's purely in Vaikuntha, anytime we are in touch with Srila Prabhupada's words, Srila Prabhupada's sound vibration, Srila Prabhupada's interaction with his disciple, Srila Prabhupada's interaction with us every moment, Srila Prabhupada's murti, Svapu form that is very present in his murti. He established his murti, like at the same time he was still having his pastime on earth. he establishes pastime with his Murti for us to have a Vapu relationship with him, to approach him, to speak with him, to reveal our mind in confidence with Srila Prabhupada, to ask Srila Prabhupada to help us on our journey, to help us remove the blocks, what's blocking us from making advancement, what's blocking us from experiencing guidance from Super Soul, that every moment we know, I'm only doing the will of the Lord and nothing else. Like it's not about me. Guidance to free ourselves from our false identification. Guidance, like to really approach Srila Prabhupada as a confidant, as a spiritual master, as the one who can cut through our illusion. Prabhupada can see through. Prabhupada, he is a via media, and so he sees our conditioning, and he suffers from our conditioning. He's paradukkha dukhi. So he sees that our suffering, our real pain, our real victimization is that we have forgotten that we are part and parcel of Krishna, that we are the soul, and so in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, he said to focus on the self alone, and it's a small self, it's not the big self. To always remember that I am a soul, and whatever is happening in a body, it should be like river entering the ocean. When river entering the ocean is not disturbed by that. The ocean is still. It's on the same level. It's not disturbed, and there is constant river entering the ocean, and the ocean is still and peaceful and waving and doing what the ocean does, and the ocean is not disturbed. So similarly, the soul of the pure devotee, of the soul in, like it is not disturbed by the wave of the entering thoughts or the entering different waves of the material energy. The devotee is not disturbed, like the ocean is not disturbed by the entrance of those rivers. The devotee is not disturbed by the moving and upheaval of the material energy. He knows that this is just the material energy at work. That's not who I am. That who I am is a Jiva Swarup oil. The Jiva, the Swarup, the form of the Jiva is Krishna Nitya Das, to be a servant of Krishna eternally. So that's who I am. And then all those things are really temporary. They come and go. And they don't have the power to affect me. So I'm going to stop here. Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Mayate Yanuvarnite Ube Api Nagrinanti Maya Shriste Vipaschitaha. Neither of the above forms of the Lord, as just described unto you, from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who knows him well. Hare Krishna. I look forward to hear how you're processing this chapter and this sharing and what's happening for you and realization, question, challenges. Hare Krishna. And tomorrow is a Prabhupada disappearance day. Just wanted to say that. Hare Krishna, dear Gajendra Prabhu.
I will. Okay, so we're talking about intimacy earlier. It definitely caught my attention and started some thinking processes that were getting sort of abstract. And so there's Krishna, and as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we view him as God, the supreme, the origin, and that we're part and parcel of him. Everything is contained in him. And we have an eternal relationship with Krishna. And at present, we're in a situation in a world that is always changing, and in fact is ultimately temporary. The manifest universe will cease to exist. And right now we're in these particular bodies having relationships with other people. And even some of these people are devotees, and we have identities as devotees. And so I'm trying to understand, where I have some understanding, and I'm wanting to look more at the nature of intimacy in this world between various peoples. Between, so it's like if there's somebody that I know in this world, sorry, my computer's blanking. So I'm having, I'm talking with I just very real world. I'm talking with somebody, I'm coordinating plans with somebody, I'm having experience, including emotions with this person. And yet it's all predicated on what appears to be a physical reality that is extraordinarily temporary, absolutely temporary. And so there's a part of me that feels like, I embrace this, even though it's temporary. I kind of give it the value, like, even though this is temporary, it's potentially spiritually within the context of something that's spiritual, even if, Gary or Gajendra just is going to cease to exist in a short time, and nobody will ever think of me again or remember anything that happened. And so I'm looking at that, like when I think of intimacy, I want to think about it as being real, as being eternal, as being spiritual. And yet it's, it's just odd because it's in a context where it's very temporary. And so I want to add one little part to that. So it's just like, in this world, I experience relationships with people that are, from my perspective, are not necessarily fully realized souls free of any character flaws. Like, seems like some people I interact with are working stuff out in the process of realization. And so they seem mixed to me. Like at some point they seem like they, from my perspective, like, well, they're a good person, or I can trust that person, or there's something real here. And I can begin to feel intimacy to that because it sort of has that. But then that same person can sort of, change, like how they treat me or their personality. And then the experience that I'm having with them can shift, and it's not longer the same. It doesn't have a desirable quality, certainly not one that I would want for all eternity to know.
Thank you.
I don't know. It's just sort of my pondering and ruminating about these things. Like how do we? It's sort of like, how do I have spiritually intimate relationships when all the people I'm working with or having relationships with, I mean, because it seems, so it seems impersonal if I just go, well, okay, they're just representing Krishna. I'm really just having a relationship with Krishna, and they're just sort of playing this role.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they may be playing a role representing Krishna, but it seems a little impersonal for me just to turn them into a representational object of Krishna and not really feel caring or emotionally invested in that actual person.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if you can sort it out. I don't know.
I will try. My sense is that this is a type of question we want to ask ourselves. This is a kind of question we want to live by. Okay, what's the nature of my relationship with people around me? I am relating to them as spirit, soul, and how, if I do relate to them as part and parcel of Krishna and spirit, soul, how can I develop intimacy and not be impersonal? And on the other side, how to be intimate and personal without getting entangled in the material energy of like the action and reaction of those relationships. So it's like, yes, it's a type of question that Srimad Bhagavatam is responding to, and Srila Rupa Goswami spends so much time to respond to too. So like what I'm hearing from you is, yeah, you're pondering. We have people, we have relationship. Are we relating with a relationship based on something temporary, as temporary being like I and my and who I am here, and them being the temporary covering? Or are we relating in a spiritual way? And, in a sense, there's so much in the Shastra to guide us in those questions. I'm just going to get the Bhagavatam because yesterday I just read something about Kapila Dev speaking exactly about what you're speaking. So because it's so interesting that you're asking that question, and I read something last night.
Hopefully he spoke about it a little better than I did. Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, Lord Kapila does. We'll see. But there is so much to your question, and definitely by us asking those questions, then we can have a step back to not get entangled in like, yeah, we are all conditioned, and to expect, in a sense, sometimes the illusion is to interact with someone as if they are not conditioned. And then all of a sudden we realize they're conditioned. And because we have emotional attachment to expectation that they shouldn't be conditioned, then we do like that yo-yo of attraction, repulsion, which really like accepting, rejecting is just the mind games, but it doesn't go very deep. While Srila Rupa Goswami explained, okay, so in the Shrij Upanishad, and then also in the Nectar of Instruction, the Shrij Upanishad, it's so clear. If we can keep those guidance, that the type of relationship we have here, there is a type of relationship where we approach someone who knows better about the path of spiritual life and maybe is more advanced than us, like further on the way. Or we have people who are on the same level, and then our relationship is only about fulfilling the purpose of human life, which is to help each other in self-realization, not having intimacy or like, I'm getting my juice and I'm giving you your juice, but like that. And then the other relationship is like to be responsible for people we see like are sincere and innocent and could really be supported by being shown the path. So that's it. That's very simple. If we put everything on that level, then relationship becomes so simple and not entangling. And then Lord Kapila, we are going to listen to Lord Kapila because he just spoke about that. I just need to find where, because I pass it, but because I read it yesterday, it shouldn't be too far away. Okay, so I will read a few verses. It is a duty of every conditioned soul to engage in his polluted consciousness, which is now attached to material enjoyment, in very serious devotional service with detachment. Thus, his mind and consciousness will be under full control. One has to become faithful by practicing the controlling process of the yoga system and must elevate himself to the platform of unalloyed devotional service by chanting and hearing about me. So it's Kapila Dev, Lord Kapila speaking. In executing devotional serving, one has to see every living entities equally. So like to equal vision, to have an equal vision, without enmity towards anyone, yet without intimate connection with anyone. So that's really a response to your question directly. So he said, without enmity towards anyone, yet without intimate connection with anyone. So, and Srila Prabhupada expand on that in his purport. I can tell you the verse is 3:27 and 7. So you can go there because it kind of goes there. And then in the Nectar of Instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami explained to us what's the exchange of love between spiritually inclined people. So, okay, so we know, like, okay, I approach innocent people, sincere innocent people. I'm on a path, so I'm just going to show them the path. Not that I think I'm more advanced, but they don't know the path, and I do know the path. I share with them. Then there is a peer, and in the peer level, then I make sure I don't waste my time, and I don't waste their time. I'm not involved in, like, prajalpa or idle talk or, like nonsensical talk that I'm endeavoring to support self-realization, God realization. And then, yes, there is people who are on the path further than me. And I can see they are further than me, and I want to be there with them. So I approach them and I receive from them. And then Srila Rupa Goswami say, okay, the exchange of love, intimacy, the only intimacy is with the devotee. And Srila Prabhupada does explain that in a purport, that the devotee will have intimacy with the devotees. And that intimacy is around Krishna, is by the intimacy is serving Krishna together. That intimacy is discussing about Krishna together. The intimacy is about supporting each other in anartha nivritti, seeing anartha or supporting others to see their own anartha. The intimacy is to glorify the Lord, hearing, chanting, remembering the Lord, supporting others to see not the intimacy with me, but to see their intimacy with Krishna, like that. So, and then there is those exchange of love, offering prashadam, receiving prashadam. It's always the exchange of love. There is a receiving part always, giving gift and receiving gift. And the most important is revealing that one mind's in confidence and receiving someone else's mind's in confidence. So there is so much delineation. And again, if we follow the rule and regulation, if we follow the instruction, if we follow what's given to us, then relationships are also simple, become very simple. But because we are still conditioned, and because we are still kind of want that business exchange, you rob mine, I rob yours. And, like, you give me something, I give you something, because we are still conditioned by that business exchange in a relationship, then we confuse what intimacy is, and then we get slapped in the face.
Have you heard, or do you know, for jiva souls like we are, do we have or can we develop eternal relationships with other jivas that are intimate? In other words, like this, like, like Krishna has his, eternal, close, confidential associates. I don't know that there's any limit to that, but he has them. But can we, could people that are coming to Krishna consciousness in this world, waking up and becoming pure devotees, could they have relationships with other jivas that where they're like eternal associates, like they're involved? I don't mean eternal, like just, oh, well, we're all connected to Krishna. I mean like
yes, serving to Krishna.
You and Dear Govinda have done so well in this life, serving Prabhupada and Krishna, that whoever you are beyond, this world, that there's like an actual relationship where you continue to know each other.
Well, definitely,
even in a different form or circumstance.
Yeah. So you're looking at
the jiva's bond and all that.
Yeah, so it's really delicate question, because I think it can lead to misunderstanding. Like people like, oh, I feel so intimate with you, we are eternal soul, or like I read something about the soul journey and the flame soul. Like there is so many new age stuff around that I'm really careful and cautious to speak about those things, because it's so perverting in the new age and personalist movement, those like soul connection. So that's what's happening for me. And in speaking about that, because it's so easy to I'm eternally connected with that person or this person, which is cheesy and cheap. And at the same
a lot of people have been burned by their twin flame, from what I hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, whatever, whatever. Yeah, burned by the twin flame. I have seen that a lot. Anyway, so that put aside, it is described. Prabhupada often say like-minded devotee, and then in the Chaitanya Charitamrita there is the trees with the different branches, and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it's so much about that the eternal associate of the Lord, they have relationship. There is even one pastimes where Lord Chaitanya, he said to one brother, he said, to older brother, he said, I have a relationship with your brother that's more intimate than the relationship I have with you. And so, of course, the soul, there is, the whole description in a Nectar of Devotion and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, for example, about the servant of Srimati Radharani. They don't even have a relationship with Krishna. They don't care about Krishna. They have a relationship with Srimati Radharani, and they have a relationship between each other. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he described, in his song, like, we want to have an eternal relationship. And we want, in a sense, we want to develop those relationships with those devotees that are already liberated. Ragatmika Bhakti means, and I'm not thinking like, oh, you and I are on this level. On this level, I think it's better to not even go there, but to go there with eternal associate of the Lord, to develop this intimacy with associate of the Lord we are inclined towards. And then we have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Why is a Jiva soul? And there is a relationship of intimacy and an eternal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. It's not by chance that we have Srila Prabhupada as our spiritual master, because there is that eternal relationship from one jiva to another. And there is so many, we need to keep in mind that only 10% of all the souls are in a material existence. And in that 10%, they are spread around unlimited amount of universes. So, in our little life on Earth, it's kind of ridiculous to think like that, I think. So I'm cautious about that. And at the same time, of course, it's described. It describes that some devotee, it's not like we all have a relationship with Krishna and Krishna interacts with everybody and it's just like vertical like that. It's just, there is so much horizontal relationship, so much, so much intimacy, like when the gopis, they go away from the rasa dance because Krishna loves the rasa dance, and then they figure out that Radharani is with him. At first they are jealous, but they are so connected with each other. They play the pastime of Krishna together. So there's so many examples of a relationship that the souls are between each other that are eternal relationship, of course. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they have an eternal relationship, and it's between the two of them. Krishna have nothing to do with that, in a sense. They have a relationship and they serve together Krishna, and they receive Krishna as their child. So, and we need to be cautious, careful to not bring that, because otherwise, this is what impersonalism is to bring things that are Maya, to the level of transcendence, just to bring those possibility of eternal associates to our level of, no, we are in condition. And yes, sometimes we are attracted. Maybe we are attracted just because of karma. Sometimes there is description like some people, they have been husband and wife for many lifetimes. And it doesn't mean they're eternal associates. But there may be connection for many lifetimes with our enemies too. There is connection. If I kill someone in my past life, that person is going to come back and I will feel like, oh, I feel I have an eternal relationship with that person. Yes, you already have many lifetimes with that person. It doesn't mean that relationship is eternally connected in the spiritual world. Did I respond to your question? At least have some food for thought.
Really well. Yeah, that was really good. Thank you very much. I appreciated when you brought up Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj as one example, because I remember somebody talking about that one time. They were just saying like they have a connection with each other. It's not like they just get together and walk in the room and shake hands and go, okay, we got to take care of Krishna now. I mean, they actually probably, have love and affection, which is probably naturally increased along with their love for Krishna, because that's their child, it just works like that.
Yeah. And also, the coward woman in Vrindavan that come to Yashoda and serve with Yashoda and come to complain to Yashoda that Krishna is stealing our yogurt. And then Mother Yashoda said, I'm going to punish Krishna. I said, no, don't punish Krishna. They are so friends with each other. There is so much affection, and in those pastimes, in those dialogue between the eternal associate of the Lord, there is so much friendship and intimacy and love between them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for stimulating sharing. And yes, we want to ask those questions, and really, what is a relationship in this material world? And what's the guidance from the Acharya? What's the guidance from Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada gives us so many guidance how to interact with other people in a way that's free of those egos battled and really that's aligned with being a devotee of Krishna and developing our love for Krishna. Yeah. Hi, Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here Saturday morning. And yes, tomorrow is the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada, an opportunity for us to remember him and how much he gave us when he was here. Remember him that we can serve him here, that he disappeared in one Vapu form and he has his Vapu form here still. And of course, he gave us so much to be in connection with him. And at the same time, it is a very significant day for us. We'll have a great fortune tomorrow to have Mother Nanda giving the Bhagavatam class, of course, the class on Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day. So she's coming here to speak to us about Srila Prabhupada tomorrow morning. So I encourage you to come and make sure many people join us. And if you want to come in person, let me know. I have a limited space available, and however, I'm happy for people to come in person. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Apremanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.